Why do political systems resist change, even when the writing is clearly on the wall? It's not just laziness or conservatism. Sometimes history itself builds the cage. I'm Professor Hellstrom, and in this video we'll look at path dependency, a powerful theory at the meso-level that explains why political institutions often stay locked onto a course even when it no longer makes sense. Previously, we have been looking at micro-level theories that analyze what motivates individuals to make decisions. Now we're moving up to meso-level theories that scrutinize decision-making on organizational level. What makes public agencies, governments, corporations take the decisions they do? Path dependency shows us how past decisions create self-reinforcing dynamics. Over time, what began as one choice among many becomes the way things are done, not because it's the best, but because switching is increasingly costly. Imagine a tech tree in a computer game. You pick one path, and you invest resources, and the other paths are not disappearing, but it becomes more and more difficult, more and more challenging, harder to reach the options on the other branches of the tree. Reversing course means tearing up old structures, old infrastructures, institutions, effectively locking new decision makers into the branch their predecessors chose long ago. These costs aren't just financial, they're also political and symbolic. That's why governments often double down on policies even when alternatives are available. So, organizations often remain locked into certain pathways due to these historical investments, norms, and established practices. Take the American healthcare system. During World War II, the government introduced wage and price controls, so employers could no longer raise employee salaries. Instead, they chose to attract talent by offering them health insurance benefits. After World War II, the US was already on the path of this employer-based health insurance system. That decision set off a chain reaction. Private insurers built massive infrastructure, employers negotiated insurance contracts, and public programs like Medicare had to work around the private sector. Now, decades later, reforming the system is politically toxic, even though nearly every other rich democracy has found more accessible alternatives. When this path is combined with the US predilection for American exceptionalism, then it's easy to see why American voters or politicians are not even considering alternatives from abroad. Why look outside if you're convinced that you live in the best of all possible worlds? The only foreign healthcare system they tend to compare to ends up being the Canadian one, when at least some international rankings suggest that the French healthcare system might be the best in the world. The path once chosen has become a trap. Look at Canada's energy sector. Despite its climate leadership abroad, Canada struggled to transition off of fossil fuels. Why? Because its economy and institutions were built around oil and gas and pipelines. Every new investment or regulation adds another layer of inertia. The recent consumer carbon tax was, according to many economists, the most cost-effective way to address carbon emissions and encourage the development of renewable energy. Voters rejected it strongly. They much preferred the hidden, more expensive costs that it will follow, in the form of higher insurance premiums due to extreme weather events and less effective government programs. Future governments are now locked into that path. Change isn't thus just a technical fix. It's a political reckoning with choices of the past. Path dependency helps us to make sense of this. Political actors aren't making choices from a blank slate. They inherit paths carved out by their predecessors and are often feeling constrained by those legacies. It's not always about the lack of willpower. It's about the invisible structures that shape what feels doable. The path dependency theory is good at explaining why the past makes change very difficult. It is not so good at accounting for moments of radical transformation, innovation, or crisis-driven shifts that break historical patterns, though. If you found this video helpful. Please like it, subscribe, hit the bell button so you won't miss future content. You can also support the channel through Patreon or Ko-fi, or book one-on-one tutoring with me via Superprof. Link is in the description. Thank you for watching.